up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry. Consulting, so inspiring. Wishing you to.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. I'm your host, Crystal Petry. Today on the podcast, I have Chef Bettina Evans. She has been cooking and catering throughout Texas, probably beyond, throughout Texas for years. And she is going to talk to us all about baking and cooking and all of the deliciousness that comes with it, but also how she shows her love, her compassion, her thanks through her food. So, Chef Evans, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I'm just going to start out by saying Chef Evans is my favorite chef so far. Look. My favorite interview guest. She gave me food. I'm not going to eat this during the podcast, but as soon as I hit stop,
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have chocolate chip cookies and a red velvet cookie that your kids made, your students made.
Students prepared them. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so you are a chef, a caterer, and a teacher.
Yes.
When did food become a part of your life? I mean, outside of, I'm a baby, I got to eat food to survive, but when did it become a part of your life?
I would have to say about the age of 10.
Okay.
10. I was in Girl Scouts.
Oh.
Started out as a bluebird. And so they would give us recipes to go home and try. My brother and I, we would love to get in the kitchen behind our parents anyway. So on our downtime, summer times, holidays, we would get in the kitchen and experiment with those recipes. And the very first recipe that we tried was a sugar cookie.
Oh.
Well, it didn't taste like a sugar because we mixed up the sugar and the salt.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and added too much salt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did not let that knock us down. You know, we laughed about it and we threw those away and asked our mom could we try it again, and she did. And really that was the beginning for me.
Okay. So normally, and I came in with the expectation as I was writing this question that you was going to say my mom introduced me or my grandma introduced me, because that's normally the answer when, someone that's a chef that cooks,
Right.
They'll say, oh, my mom, my dad, my grandmother introduced me. But for you, it was Girl Scouts.
Girl Scouts. Well, we grew up, of course, around cooking. My grandmother, she actually had a boarding house.
Okay.
And so a commercial stove for me was the ultimate, it was a dream to own a commercial stove, because I grew up with that. So I was around food all my life. But I have to truly say that jump start for me was in that kitchen experimenting with those cookies with my brother.
Yes. So I need some definitions here.
Sure.
What is a caterer? Or what is your definition of a caterer?
A caterer, once again, is a cook, a chef, that take the food that they prepare in a certified kitchen and they take it on site or on location. So a caterer can be a cook or a chef. They just take that food to the customer wherever they are.
Okay. And what is a chef?
A chef is a skilled, trained cook. That's what it takes, years of experience. One of the myths is that you have to attend culinary art school. Yes, you get the training, you get the theory there, but the actual hands-on experience takes place in the kitchen. And so for me, I did not go or attend culinary art school, but I was at homemaking all my life. From middle school, it started at home, then middle school, then high school, and actually I was going to start on that track, but I had a different, I took a different route because I had a love for the special needs population as well. Okay. And so here I am in college trying to decide, is it going to be special needs or is it going to be home economics, which is what we're used to knowing it as. And so I decided that it would be secondary education, specializing in special education.
Okay.
But I continued to cook for other people. I loved it. I'm like, you know what? Let's make a business from it. And so that is where I got my start. So you don't necessarily have to attend, although you do get the theory there. You read, you study the greats, you learn from them. and then you move forward if that's really what you want to do. So a lot of chefs that are, kicking it and making it really big today did not attend culinary art school, although that's a great start. But it's very expensive.
Yes.
And so I don't knock it. For those that did it, hats off to you. I wish I could have gone that route, but I did not. So just know that for those who are out there in the industry, you can get the training. You can actually get credentialed as well without having to attend culinary arts school.
Do you think that people that go to the culinary arts school, that they are maybe a step above those, or they come out better cooks, or really are you on the same playing field whether you go to the culinary arts school or not?
Well, in this day and time, you can actually attend culinary arts school online. So
Really?
you're teaching yourself anyway. You have instructors and professors that's guiding you to make the corrections. But like I said, the actual experience you get is when you're in the kitchen and you're hands-on. So if you have an executive chef that's willing to teach you in a kitchen, in a restaurant, you're going to get that same type of training. So you get the theory. So you go to the library, you check out the books, you read, you learn. You're really in the era of internet.
Yes, we are.
And YouTube.
Yes,
And
we
so
are.
you learn the skill set. So I've known when I had my restaurant, I had, I call them team players. I didn't like to call them employees. Some attended culinary art school and some did not. And so for me, it was a level playing field because they both brought something to the table. One experience, one instructional, but when they came together as a team and they worked together as a team. But I can truly say, I don't think one had more training than the other because once again, culinary arts school gives you the theory. It does not give you the practical.
Okay.
And the practical is where it happens.
And that's where you learn.
And that's where you learn. Just a quick story of a gentleman, if we have time. His name is Chef Jeff Henderson. And his story, he, unfortunately was arrested. And this is his testimony, his story. When he was young, he was a drug dealer, ended up getting incarcerated. And his punishment for getting into an altercation in prison was the kitchen.
Okay.
That was his punishment,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so that's where he got his start. So when he was eventually released, he walked the streets of LA and found someone that was going to give him an opportunity to train under. And he did, and he started in the dish room. He started in the dish room and worked his way up, and he became the first African-American executive chef at the Bellagio Hotel in Las Vegas. So to answer that question, it's all about passion and it's all about heart, and not to say one is more important than the other, because either way you go, you're going to have to start at the bottom and work your way up. You have the certification, you have the degree, but you don't have the experience. So either way, you got to start at the bottom
And
work your way up. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
what about food and cooking has kept your passion and kept your love for it all these years?
It's basically, when you have a call on your life and when you are able to get up every morning and say, yes, I get to go do what I love to do, that's where you're supposed to be. Now, teaching is my first love, but I also love to cook. And so my prayer, literally all of my teaching career is, Lord, merge the two gifts together so I can truly walk in my purpose and my passion. And that's what God has done in my latter years. Like I said, my very first love was the special needs population. So the first 25 years of my career, that's where I was. And this opportunity opened up when the industry changed in terms of education and what we were wanting to see out in the community, the training and looking at industry-based certifications. They weren't necessarily looking for certified teachers in that field, but they were looking for those that had the training and the skill set in the industry. And that trend shifted about maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And so now our students here at the Career Center can actually graduate with an industry-based certification and end up making or starting out earning $50,000 and $60,000 a year without a college education.
No.
So the need is there. So of course, there was a shift.
Yes.
And so because of my industry experience, I was already a certified teacher, had already been teaching for 25 years. So the opportunity presented itself. I applied, I got the position, and here I am.
You are a teacher with the Beaumont Independent School District in Beaumont, Texas, and we are in your, is this considered your classroom?
This is my classroom.
Okay,
This is my lab. This is
y'all
my
see my
haven.
background?
This is my home. Yes, yes.
So how many, okay, so this is your culinary lab.
Mhm.
I see the waffle maker and the KitchenAid blenders
Yes.
and mixers.
Mhm.
How many students do you have in here?
On average, I have 3 classes. So on average, I have about 10 to 12 students per class.
Is this class mandatory?
No, this is not a mandatory class. Well, actually, it starts as what we call them programs of study. So we prepare them from elementary to middle school, getting them acclimated to the program, teaching them skill sets and offering opportunities for them to come into our simulated labs so they can get an experience of what all of our programs of study look like. Because when they're younger, they're not quite sure, but they know they like to do different things. So like for me, when I was in, Bluebirds, if I would have had an opportunity to see this in elementary school, I probably, my career choice probably would have ended up being culinary arts, to be honest. But I didn't have anything to nurture that. There were no programs necessarily to nurture that other than home economics. And that was only back then we had trimesters. So that was 6 weeks in one thing, 6 weeks in another, and then 6 weeks in another. You had your cooking, then you had your sewing, and then you had a few other subjects that you had to take. So I said all that to say the opportunity that we have now, to me, gives the kids a better opportunity to choose. So when they are in 8th grade, they get a chance to come here and see all of our programs of study. And that gives them a better idea of what they really want to do in terms of pursuing a career. So I tell my seniors all the time, you have 3 choices. You're either going to go to the workforce, you're either going to go to the military, or you're going to college. It's going to be one of the 3.
Yes, it's true.
So
it's true.
which one will it be? And so in the 9th grade, they choose their program of study in 8th grade. In 9th grade, 10th grade, they're on their home campus. So they're learning more and more about that particular program of study. And then their junior year, they're bussed over here from their main campus.
Okay.
And their senior year. And it works twofold because they're also duly enrolled with Lamar Institute of Technology. So they're earning college credit. Yes.
When they come to your class?
Yes. When they start in 9th grade. Yes. So
Okay.
they're earning college credit. So when they actually graduate from high school, they will graduate with a certification or certificate of completion from LIT with hours towards whatever they choose to major in. So it's twofold.
And that's what you were talking about when you were saying when they graduate with the certificate, they can graduate already making $50,000-$60,000.
That's a different certificate.
Okay.
They also earn an industry-based certification. So for us in culinary arts, they have the opportunity. We're preparing them. So at the end of the year, around March, we actually started testing January, February, March. Whatever program of study, they all have certification exams. So for us, it's the Certified Food Protection Manager. So like for managers of restaurants, cafeterias, any area in the food service industry, they can take that certification exam and become a manager, getting a manager training program. So that's the certification that they take from my class. And then the same thing, like for cosmetology, they can graduate high school with their license as a licensed cosmetologist. Yes. So that's what we do in this program. We also have audio visual, we have graphic design. They can also graduate with a certificate and become a teacher's assistant. school. And then they can go on and continue if they choose to, but if they don't, they want to go right into the workforce, they can. We have welding, we have auto mechanics, paint and body, we even have real estate. So they can graduate as a real estate agent right out of high school. Yes, making $50,000, $60,000 a year. So absolutely, it's an opportunity for our students to know that, look, you may not know at 18 what you really want.
And who does? Not many. I mean, a few people do, but not many people.
Right. So
Not
they can have. So they have that. They have the options.
Mhm.
It's about options. So you have the certification. For example, a student of mine graduated in May. She passed her certification exam. She wanted to enroll in college. Well, before she enrolled in August, an opportunity for her to help in a kitchen one day because the chef was sick. They knew she had a certified food manager certificate. They called her up. She came and pitched it. And guess what? Now she's working there while going to school part-time. And so it afforded her an opportunity also to help pay for her college education.
Yes.
So that's what we're really trying to educate the community about. This program, this school, this campus has been here since 1988, and people still don't know we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I know, for this podcast, we're talking about, the baking and
Right.
the food and the cooking, but I need to come back and talk to you or talk to somebody about the school.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because this is the Tailored Career and Education.
They renamed it to Career and Technical Education
Okay.
Center.
Okay, so I need to come back and talk to either you or someone about everything that's offered here.
Right.
Because that's amazing.
Yeah, that would be our director, Dr.
Yeah.
Prudham. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that would be
Okay,
our
so
director.
I definitely need to get in touch with her then.
Yes, indeed.
Do you think, I know you said that your class is not mandatory. Do you think your class should be mandatory? Like, everybody needs to learn how to cook, right?
Well, because it is an industry-based program, you have your kids that are in extracurricular activities that it does not work out for their schedule, so because they're bused from their home campus to here, and they only spend they're either here in the morning or they're here in the afternoon, and so it doesn't work for scheduling. And TEA makes all of the rules. Okay?
Yes.
And so it's not an elective. So it's what we consider a program of study. So it does take up a lot of time, a lot of commitment. So it's not just a one semester class or a 1 year class. It's a 4-year program.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a 4-year
Even
program.
with all of that, I feel like it should be mandatory because everybody needs, even if you don't go into the industry,
Right.
you still need to know how to cook for yourself, for your
Exactly.
family. If you decide to have
Right.
kids, you
Yeah.
still need that.
Right.
Is this industry still a female industry? The woman in the kitchen cooks while the man goes off to work? Or do you have equal female, equal male?
Were enrolled in my class, I would say the young ladies are dominating, but in the industry, actually in the field, it's more male dominated.
Is it?
Yes, it is. And, the women are trying to penetrate it, but actually the men, they dominate the industry at this point. Why is that trend so? I really don't know, but there are more men in the industry. Yeah.
And that was really going to be my next question. Not that I'm glad. I am glad that men are learning how to cook and know how to cook and, taking an active role in the kitchen. But that's weird that, like, in the classroom setting, it's more female, but when you get into the industry, it's more male.
It's more male. And I don't know if because it's more of the celebrity popularity, trend that has taken place over the past 10 or 15 years. But definitely you do see more men. But the women, like I said, they're making strides and penetrating the industry. One of our local chefs who is from here, Tiffany, Derry, she's a product of the Career Center.
Is she?
Yeah,
That was not even one of my questions, but I wondered that because I watch her on Bobby Flay's Triple Threat, which is one of my favorite shows.
Right.
And I knew she was from Beaumont, so she came through this class.
Yes, she did. She came through when it was named Taylor Career Center and graduated from Ozan High School. And she's an international chef now.
She is.
Very successful. So we're really proud of her. Not a day go by that I don't talk to the students about her. We'll watch videos of her as well. And then there's another young man on the other side of that, our men, Ken Patrick, who I believe is a graduate of Westbrook High School. He's also in the DFW area as well. So we have a few local celebrity chefs that I just don't think get enough attention from our area, but we are truly proud of them, and I make sure that they're known here as our students come through the program.
Were you her teacher when she came through?
No, absolutely not. I was not. I was still working with my little 3 and 4 year olds in the special needs class. I'm not sure who may have been Mary Ellis Sam at the time when she came through the program, but I can't say 100% sure.
Now, you said that your class, your culinary, it's culinary arts. I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
Yes.
So your culinary arts class is a 4-year class.
Yes.
How do you grade your students? Do you grade them like the food looks good, the food tastes good? What is
All
that
of the
process?
above.
Okay.
Yes, they have a rubric so they know coming into the lab what the expectation is. And so, yes, we look for taste. If it's savory, we're looking for flavor. We're making sure that there is a balance. Of course, if it's baking, now did this product come out? We're talking about cakes. Did it rise? If it did not rise, what did we do wrong? There's a step called mise en place where they have to put everything out on the table, make sure they have all of their ingredients there. That's a part of their grade as well. Did you get all of your ingredients? Were they in place? Did you use all of your ingredients? And so their appearance, what does it look like? What does the final product look like? And then, of course, taste. We do look at the taste. So I have to taste a lot of food, and I just do that taste. If I did not, I'd be,
Yes.
Yeah, so, and then they grade themselves as well, so we also allow them to do peer grading as well, so they give each other constructive criticism, so they're learning how to take the good and the bad, because everything does not come out perfect, but I tell them it's going to make you stronger when you're able to receive that criticism, this constructive criticism, and that feedback, so you can become better at what you do. Whether it's culinary arts or whatever it is in life, be able to accept that constructive criticism because you'll become better for it. So, yes, absolutely.
Okay, this is kind of a 2-part loaded question. Is teaching measurement conversion the hardest thing in this class? Because for me, I still don't know how to do it. I have to Google, like if I'm, making something and it says, 6 tablespoons or whatever it is, I still have to Google the conversion so I'll know how much of the ingredient to put in. So is that difficult to teach in your class or like just in general? Is that something hard to teach?
Well, cooking is math, science, and it's reading.
Yes.
And so my students do struggle because they're struggling with the basic fundamentals of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so, it's a challenge, but we teach it in their textbooks, their conversions lessons. But thank goodness for the era of the internet.
Yes. Yes.
We actually have a conversion calculator.
Oh.
So if it's a fraction, if it's 2 2/3 cups plus a 1/3 cup,
Yes.
and they can't do it in their head, well, hey, let's pull out our calculator, let's do it, and it actually converts it for you, but they do learn it the long way, just so they'll know how to do it. So it can be difficult because students that come to me, I have students from all walks of life, whether they're students that we would consider the average student or the advanced student or that special needs student, but you'll never know in my class because I treat them all equal and they help each other. And so for that struggling student, we have modifications and accommodations for them, but they get it, but we just have to work a little harder with them.
When I first walked in, getting ready for the interview and setting up, one of the first things I said was, "It smells delicious in this classroom." And you were explaining to me that your class had just finished cooking what cookies?
Yes, we just finished baking cookies today for the 8th grade tours that are coming to the campus this week.
So, number one, how many cookies did y'all have to bake? How many cookies was that?
Oh God. Okay, I lost track of the by the dozens. We just started counting by the number because that's what we've been. Okay, we got 190 students coming this day. We have 100 students coming. So I have a little chart, and so okay, students, each recipe yields so many dozen, and so I may tell them I need you to double that recipe, or I may need a single, or I may need you to do a triple. You know, so it just depends upon how many cookies we actually needed for that particular tour on that day. So today we had to complete 218 individual cookies today for the tours today. Yes.
So is that a senior level class? Like the class that like cooks for tours, that's a senior level class?
This class is designed to prepare. We have our own, actually, in the backup, we actually have our own catering company.
I was going to get to that, but let's jump into it.
We actually do. It's called Southern Comfort Catering, which the students, we came together last year. We put some ideas together, and then we voted to see what we wanted our company to be named. We wanted something to represent where we are, Southeast Texas, and something that would represent both high schools. And so we came up with the idea of Southern Comfort Catering. We have our own catering van as well, and we have our own menu. And so all of that was created last year, and so we do cater to the public, which is something we did last week. We catered for BU's football team all football season.
Okay.
You know, so we do cater, and they come pick up or we deliver Monday through Friday. And so we also have a student enterprise to where we'll sell to the students. That opportunity is coming up real soon, where they'll be able to come in and make a purchase if they want to buy some cookies, or we prepare chicken and waffles on Friday. So we were preparing how can we make this to the point, how can we market this to our students to where they can come in and grab something to eat. Because sometimes they don't get a chance, unfortunately, to eat breakfast. Sometimes they don't make the lunch line. And so they'll come in hungry. You know, so we're trying to figure out how can we feed them, you know, something quick, something they can bite into and get to class, you know. So yeah, absolutely. They're learning, and they're doing a great job at it. So I'm really proud of them.
Now, BU is Beaumont United football team located in Beaumont, Texas. How did the football coach call you and say, "Hey, can y'all cater for us every week?" Like, if somebody wants your students use Southern Comfort to cater their event, how does that work?
They're Booster Club. Booster Club member reached out to me and said, "Hey,
for Beaumont United football."
Yeah, Beaumont United football. They reached out and said, "Can we get a copy of your menu? We were interested in you catering for the football team." And I sent a copy to them, and they were like, "Okay, we want this, and this week, and this that week." And so that's how we ended up catering. We didn't do the full football season. I want to say we may have missed maybe 3 games because we had other obligations. Because not only do we have to, you know, be in the lab, we got to get theory. So we got to get some of that book knowledge to transfer over into the lab. So that's how we ended up catering for their team.
Do you take outside orders, like not affiliated with Beaumont Independent School District?
Yes, we do.
And how does that work?
We had our website created last year as well.
What's that address?
Oh, it's a long one. So if you would email me, or they can reach me, call me here at the school, then I can email you because it's long. It was created through a project. A student had a project that they had to complete, and they wanted to build a website, and so they used us. And so now we have that website, but it's a long address. So I wouldn't want to get that, you know, incorrect. But if they reach out to me here at the school, then I can forward that information to you.
Okay. And I'll make sure and get Chef Evans' information and put it in the description box below, so you can reach out to Southern Comfort.
Yes.
So let's talk about, you had a restaurant.
Yes.
So tell me about your restaurants.
Oh, Betty G's.
Betty G.
Betty G's home style cooking. Yes, indeed. Once again, that came from my desire, one, to pay homage to my mother.
Was that her name, Betty
Betty
G?
G. It was named after her because, as I shared earlier, her mother had a boarding house in Galveston where they would cook for the residents there and feed them. And so I grew up seeing that. And so cooking is just, like most, African Americans, blacks, cooking is the thing for the family reunions, the family gatherings after church, and everybody get together and you enjoy cooking. And so that was my family. We would go out on the fish pond and we would catch our fish and come back home and fry it fresh, hot out the grease. Or we might, do an impromptu barbecue. I have 6 older brothers, and so, it took a lot to feed those boys. Yeah, it took a lot. And so for us, that was family. So I saw it growing up, so it was easy to catch on to when I started getting these recipes and say, I want to give this a try. And me and my younger brother, we love being in the kitchen together. So after an easy bake oven that my mom got me, that's what got him excited. And so he decided he was going to start baking as well. And so we just grew up cooking and baking together. So all my brothers know how to cook. Their wives don't have to cook if they don't want to.
Yes.
My younger sister, she's coming up in her, her cooking skills as well. And so just going back to your original question, that's just something I've always desired to do. And I love fellowship. I love people. I love being around people. I love community. And just the desire to have a restaurant just never went away. So that wasn't my first. My first was back in, I want to say 99. It was short-lived, called Southern Comfort. Called Classic, Classic Southern Cuisine. And so it didn't last long, but it got my foot wet. And so just continued to teach and ended up forming my catering company from the restaurant, from the people that were there. They were like, hey, we love your cooking. How can we get it? And so I started a private catering company and continued to teach over those years. And then the opportunity presented itself again for me to open up Betty G's, and that's what I did. And like I said, the recipes were inspired by my mom, the meals that she would cook for us when we were younger, the meals that I prepared for my children when they were younger. These were all inspirations for my menu. And so we were open for 3 years. I loved it. It was a training ground for children that came through the Career Center.
Okay.
Yes, we had some that we would employ in the summertime so they could get training skills. We were a second chance restaurant. A lot of people didn't know that. But
I did not know that.
Yeah, we employ young people out of that have been incarcerated, that have been through the juvenile justice system. So it was really a dream come true for me. But at the end of that 3rd year, when the lease was up, I said, y'all can have these keys.
Okay, so
Yes. It's hard work.
what inside of you was like, I want to own a restaurant and I'm going to own a restaurant?
Well, it was business ownership. That's one of the legacies that my grandmother left for us because she had the boarding house. Later, it became a juke joint. Okay, but that's what I knew. My mom, she was an educator as well, but she had a little small catering company where she would cater for her friends and, family. She would do little party trays and things like that. So I grew up understanding business ownership and entrepreneurship. And so that is really what inspired me. But I just wanted to be able to cook for people because people are happy when they eat.
They are.
They're happy when they eat, and I just love being around people. And so the desire to have a restaurant would not go away after that first, as I say, I failed forward after that first one. And so I said, you know what, I need to get this out of my system, and let's give it a try out here. It's a hard industry. And they're telling the truth. It is a very hard industry. But at the end of the 3 years, I had gotten it out of my system. Still loved what I did, but to own a restaurant, it's like giving up your life. And I literally gave up my life for 3 years. Yeah, I didn't have a life. Literally working 15, 16, 17 hours a day. You don't think it's possible, but yes. You start work at 5 o'clock, you may not go home until 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And we were open for breakfast and lunch. So we were there at 5 o'clock. Sometimes, my husband would have to come and pick me up, say it's time to go home, prepping for the next day. So I love the food service industry. I love being around people. People would come in we had people from London, England.
No.
I kid you, they came in with family. They had a chance. We had some people. We had people on tour. They were like, "We're doing a restaurant tour around the United States, and you were featured in a magazine, and I didn't even know it. You were featured in this magazine as a place to stop and get something to eat on the way through Texas." And I'm like, "Wow, this is crazy." We were in a motorcycle magazine. I was another thing. I'm like, this is insane. So, we had the notoriety, we got the recognition, but the business part of it is what I do not miss at all.
Do you think, and of course you've heard it, I've heard it, I'm sure a lot of people have heard it, that the restaurant industry, owning a restaurant, is the most difficult career field that there is?
It is.
Do you think it's the long hours? Do you think it's the business side of it? What do you think makes it so difficult? Or is it all of the above?
It is. There are many factors. And going back to culinary arts, culinary arts school, they teach you the theory of how to prepare your dishes, but they don't teach you the business aspect side. You have a little piece that teaches you about your business plan, but nothing to literally prepare you for the industry itself. So everything that I learned on my own. I had to educate myself. I went through the Small Business Development Center. They helped me to create my business plan, and we did some pro forma. And, there's a lot to it that people really don't understand and don't know the mechanics behind it. And so you have to deal with, your insurance, your taxes, and 5 different taxes. You have to deal with employees and retention, and that was another part. You hire people, you spend all of this money training them and time. They might last for a month, they might last for 2 months, they might last for 3 months. Heck, I had one to show up, interview, and didn't even show up the first day. So there are a lot of pieces to it, and I didn't get into the restaurant industry to be working the long hours. I really didn't. My goal was to be a business owner, and to allow it to be a training ground for people who wanted to come into the industry. So I had no intentions of being in the restaurant 15, 16, 17 hours a day. But if they don't show up,
you have to
show up. And when customers come in, they don't care what's going on behind the scenes. They want their food, and they want it within 15 to 20 minutes, and it better taste good, it better look good, or else we're going to complain. And so that is the part that really, it was just the breaking point for me, because I didn't have a quality of life. I couldn't do things with my family. I missed my only surviving aunt, my mother's sister. I missed her funeral because I had to be where I had to be. So it takes your life. It really does. If I had to do it again, would I do it again? And I have to honestly say no.
So if the opportunity presented itself, wrapped in a bow, here's a restaurant. Really?
No. It's such hard work. Thank God my spiritual life, my foundation in Christ and God is solid, because that's what got me through it. But the last 6 months of my restaurant, that was the hardest 6 months of my life. I had people praying for me. They would come to the restaurant, pray for me, just to get through it because I could not retain employees long enough to even catch my breath. And in the middle of all of that, my oldest daughter got married, and I literally had to shut down business for 3 days just to get to Dallas, to be a part of her wedding, and then had to be back, back in Beaumont by Sunday evening to get ready for Monday because we were open Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay.
But trusting people, I had employees to steal from me twice.
Steal food,
Money.
money.
Yes, people, you trust. So you have to be there. You just have to be there. You can't leave your business. And if I have to give anybody an advice that's in this industry, you don't trust anybody with your business. You just don't. Because they look for you to go to sleep. They're watching. Yeah.
That's horrible.
It really is. It really is. So it is hard. It's very difficult. Yes. The business aspect of it, the fact that I was an entrepreneur, yes. But to actually run it again, and I have it here. Because what I wanted to do, I have it here. I'm able to teach the next generation about the industry and prepare them for the industry, but to actually own it. On average, your businesses are going to last 3 to 5 years. And if you make it past that, you're doing excellent. You're doing a great job. But then at the cost of what? So quality of life for me was more important than being a business owner. And so I made the tough decision that I would not renew my lease. And that was that. And I was at peace with that. Closed the doors, turned my keys in gladly, and said next. The great thing about it, like I said, I was a teacher for 25 years at the time, so I've always had teaching, to fall back on. And I'm just thankful that the school district always welcomed me back with open arms because when I leave in good standing. Mom always say, don't burn those bridges.
You never know if you got to cross them back.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely.
On the business side of the restaurant, how do you figure out, this is a couple questions, how do you figure out how much to charge for each entree?
Ooh, baby, that's a process.
Is it?
Yeah. The great thing about it is your vendors, whoever you use, they have, there's formulas that you use. So you have to price out, literally, say, for example, if this dish, say it's going to be, let's just say chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and green beans. You literally have to price it out according to serving size. So if you want to say you want your plate to be just say $12.99, okay? So how many ounces of green beans, how many ounces of mashed potato, and what size ounce, okay, of the chicken fried steak that you actually want to be on that particular plate. So once you do that, then you have to price it out. Well, what is your profit margin? What do you want it to be? It better be more. It better be at least 30%. For some people, it's 50%. For some people, it's a little higher. So depending upon what type of restaurant you have, whether it's a mom and pop or it's family or it's fine dining, it just depends. So you can take that filet mignon and offer it in, a family style restaurant. It might cost you, say, $19, $20, whereas in a fine dining restaurant, that same piece of steak might cost you $35, $40. So it just depends upon what your profit margin is, but you have to price out everything according to the ounces.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a little formula that's used to determine what that will be, and to me, that is the demise of a lot of our minority-owned restaurants because we want to pile the plate up and then we want to price it low to pull the people in, and then you're not making it your profit margin. Lord have mercy. They may walk away with maybe 10% of revenue.
Is that a week? What's our time frame here?
10%. Period. Yeah. By the time you pay everybody, and you might pay yourself, you might not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the food?
Mm-hmm.
How do you figure out how much food you have to order? I guess do you order it per
Inventory.
day? Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it per day, per week?
It just depends upon the individual restaurant. It depends upon what type of storage you have, whether you have walk-in coolers, whether you have freezers and refrigerators. It just depends upon your storage and how much money you're bringing in each week. Do you have the resources to purchase in bulk? Another issue. Are you buying retail and reselling it, or are you buying wholesale?
Okay, so what's the difference between those two?
So retail, you have the price markup. Okay, so that would be like going to Market Basket, HEB, Sam's. That's retail. Okay, so your wholesale, especially if you're buying in bulk, you're not going to have the markup, so you're able to have a better profit margin.
Okay, I get that.
But the thing is, when you go with vendors, you do have to. There's a minimum. Yes, there's a minimum that you have to purchase each time you place an order. Okay, so even though you're buying in bulk, you may not need, say, a case of cups. Maybe you only need, for that week, so many sleeves of cups. But you got to order
The case.
And then there's a minimum purchase, so you have to make that minimum, for that week in order to make your purchase. So there's a lot involved, and depending upon the size of your restaurant, you may not need all of that, but you have that minimum. So that's the downside of wholesale. But then if you go retail, where you can get smaller quantity, you got the markup. So
Yes.
you have to look at what works best for your restaurant. So, but you got to go in educated. If you don't, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Just
Period.
like they say.
Period. I'm being
Yes.
I'm being transparent and I'm being completely honest. You have to plan. You can't just jump in without a business plan and not know where you're headed, because you're gonna head right into a brick wall and you're going to fall. So you have to plan. You have to know what your numbers look like. You have insurance. You have utilities. You have the incidentals that you don't even know that's going to come your way. The HVAC system may go out on you, and guess what? If you're leasing that building, you got to pay for it. So it's just so much that's involved, and I just felt like I was working for everybody else, and I was not working for me, for my family. I wanted to build something for my family, and I wasn't. I was building for others. Yeah, because my money was going to everybody but me. So that was the downside of it. Yeah.
Was there any upside to owning?
Absolutely, the people. I love the people. I see people now in the grocery store and they be like, "You're that lady. You're that Betty Jeans." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Betty, but I'm Bettina. But yeah, that Betty Jeans. There you go. Man, those oxtails. I miss those oxtails.
Yes.
You could not get. You couldn't pay me to prepare oxtails now and try to sell them in this economy, because you're
Man,
not
they're
making
so
a profit.
expensive.
They are.
When did that happen?
I don't know, because it used to be the
Cheap meat.
that was the soup meat.
It was.
Yeah, that was the soup meat. But at any rate, my hat's off to everyone that's out there in the industry. When I see a new restaurant open, I literally pray for them, that they do well, because it's such a hard industry. And one of the trends that I know, especially in Southeast Texas, is that every time there's something new, everybody run to it. And then unfortunately, give them a good 2 months, 3 months, it's just going to fall back.
And why is that? Why is that? And you are absolutely correct. There gets a new restaurant or a new fast food something here in Beaumont, Texas. This is a perfect example, and I'm going to pivot for a little bit here. But Steak and Shake on Dowling Road in Beaumont, Texas. When they first opened, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago?
Maybe two.
2 years ago, you
Everybody
could not get there. And the CEO or whoever is over Steak and Shake, like nationally, said that their opening here in Beaumont, Texas, was the largest they had ever had in the history of Steak and Shake. 2 years later, I read that they're closing for lack of customers. No one's going there to eat.
Well, here's the deal: when it's something new, you're gonna hire the best of the best. Everybody wants a job. They're gonna go.
Yes.
They're gonna give their best, and then once again, employee retention. Then people start quitting. Then you just start hiring whomever and whatever you can. Training, falls along the wayside. So then you don't have, the quality there. Your restaurant is suffering because people are not taking pride in the fact that this place needs to be clean. You have to present quality food. So, you have many factors there. So how you start out is how you need to end. Look at Chick-fil-A. I mean, they have set the industry standard.
Yes.
And there is no stopping them, because what they look for when they interview, they're not looking to train somebody to fill a position. They're looking for that person to come there that way, their personality. You can't train personality.
Right.
So they look for that personality. They look for that jovial person that's going to greet you with a smile when you come to the drive-thru, no matter how their day is. And I think when we're hiring, we're not necessarily looking for that type of person, but we're just looking for somebody to come to work.
Yeah. Right then
and there, because we need to get this done. And I believe that this is just my opinion. That is why we hurt in the industry so much. But they've created the mold, and we just need to duplicate it. We just need to duplicate it. But that's, I've seen it restaurant after restaurant when I go. It's like the quality of people, another one. And forgive me if I'm stepping on toes, but I guess I shouldn't say the name. The quality. I'm not going to say the name of the restaurant where everybody used to flock to. I mean, you couldn't, Monday through Sunday, you couldn't get in there. And I had not visited that place, I know, about 2 or 3 years, and I went in there maybe about 4 months ago. And when I say the quality of the food, the people, it was like, what happened here? What happened here? So it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's because we're not in the larger cities, because we want what the larger cities have, and then when they bring it here,
we don't support it.
We don't support it, and it just
or
goes,
continue to support, I should say.
Yeah, so, I don't know, Southeast Texas, we have to do better.
We do.
We have to do better. And stop going to social media with your complaint. Social media cannot fix what's broken. Go to ownership, go to management. Let them know what's going on, as opposed to going to social media and you have to find out about it on social media. We're in that society now, and unfortunately, it's hurting us. It really is. But let's be mature about this thing and go to management, email them, write a letter, and do it in a way that's professional, and just present what the problem is without making it such
vitriol.
Yeah, it's just awful. It really is.
And what do you think, talking about leaving food reviews and restaurant reviews, what do you think social media has done to the restaurant industry?
It's hurting. It has hurt. We just had a new restaurant to open downtown week before last. I mean, on the soft opening, somebody goes to social media and just blast them. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is the first day. They're giving away free food. And you have the audacity to go to social media and talk about how slow it was? Do you realize half of Southeast Texas was in the restaurant? Come on. Seriously. So there's a time and a place for everything. And, back in the day, food critics, you really had to be a food critic in order to leave a review.
It's true.
Everybody's a food critic now.
Everybody's a food critic now.
A food critic now.
It's true.
So, once again, we cannot move forward in this industry without having the support of our community. And there's a way to do things, and the way we're doing it now, we will never have, anything that's worth, you want to go out on a Friday night with your friends and family. You have people coming in from out of town. You want to take them to a nice place. One of our nice restaurants downtown closed last year, Sugars. That hurt me to my heart.
I loved it there.
Yeah,
the
nice
ambiance,
place,
the live
everything.
music, the food.
Yeah. So once again, I don't know. We have to do better. That's all I can say. We have to do better.
Let's pivot a little bit to Isaac Luton.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both know him. He actually suggested that I come and speak to you on the podcast. And he owns loosely, if you want to call it that, a Facebook page, Southeast Texas Black-owned restaurants. And he said one of the problems that he saw with the restaurant industry, if you will, is that kids are not growing up saying, I want to be a baker. They're not growing up saying, I want to be a chef. And he said that there's no surrounding for that. There's no baking camp. There might be one or two, but he likened it to football.
Right.
With football, I think you can start playing at 3.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many opportunities to play football, from 3 up until however age.
Right.
But there's not that if somebody wants to be a baker, if a kid wants to be a chef.
Right.
What do you think that we as a society can do to encourage more kids to become bakers, to encourage more kids to become chefs?
Well, one of the things I know that our local school system is doing now is that we are offering opportunities for them to be exposed to it at an earlier age. So a part of career and technology education from the school system perspective is that we're offering it in the earlier years. So from pre-K on up, we have our elementary school specialists that go into the elementary schools. They get to dress up. They have the little, we just, like I said, the career technology industry has taken a shift, and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars that's been put into the program in order to develop the program, because the shift has taken place in industry, and so now we need to focus more on industry-based jobs, and of course baking and cooking is one of those industries. And so to say that a lot of emphasis is not put on it, there is truth to that. But as parents, we have to hone in on that and expose our children. It's the responsibility of the parent to expose our children. When I was younger in elementary school, it was frowned upon to be a cook. Because that's what
was
it?
it?
Yeah, because all you knew, the image that you knew was to be a cafeteria worker. And that was not seen in a positive light. And it was one of the lowest paid jobs you could possibly have. And then I guess you could say maybe late 1980s, early 1990s, the trend to celebrity chefs. When I was exposed to Emeril Lagasse when I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, who was born in 1992, she was the one that turned me on. Mama, you gotta watch Emeril Lagasse. I say Emeril Lagasse and Bobby Flay.
I love him. He's my
grilling
favorite.
with Bobby Flay. And so all of these chefs started coming on the scene, which really made me say, well, hey, my love for cooking, perhaps I can really do this thing. But I knew at the time, because my children were young, I couldn't afford to go back to culinary art school. So how can I make this a profession for me along with my career as a teacher? And so I just started studying, reading the books and, learning about the greats in the industry and how because if you really look back at it, the forefathers, they didn't have culinary art school. They created culinary art school.
They did.
And so that's what you do. You study, you learn, and then you grow. And so for me, that's how I ended up in the industry professionally. But my daughter, she just loved cooking. Now she's a food connoisseur. And you go to Dallas, she can tell you whatever restaurant you want, she can pay. This is where you need to go and check it out. That was just something she enjoyed doing. She loved eating, she loved learning about food. But she gets in the kitchen and she'll cook, but that's not her passion. Her passion is eating.
Yeah.
But she's in the food service industry. She's actually she's in catering. She's in up there in management. She works at the AT&T Stadium, so she has the big accounts, and that's what. So what started out, as just enjoying watching shows with cooking, ended up a career for her in sales, and so that's how that shifted for her. So, how do we shift it? We just have to expose our children because we don't want to push them into anything that they may not enjoy, but we want to expose them. And that's what career and technology is doing for our students. We're exposing them to the options earlier now, which we didn't have back in the day. Right? We just didn't have it. My first exposure to it, like I said, was Girl Scouts, Bluebirds. It wasn't until middle school, 6th grade, I'm now 12 years old, that I was really exposed to it in the classroom. And then it was home economics.
Yes.
So once again, career and technology is shifting, and hopefully they'll be exposed and have more knowledge of what it means to be in that industry and what career path. You can be a chef on a cruise ship.
Yeah, you can.
And get to see the world. Or you can be a private chef to the stars or to whomever, the rich and famous. You can become a professional caterer. Just whatever you want to do with it. You can be a manager in a restaurant, or you can be that executive chef or that sous chef. Work your way up in the ranks. So there are so many options that are out there. But like you say, exposure is necessary. So with career and technology, hopefully we're exposing our children early enough so they can make that decision.
As we get ready to wrap up this interview, I would like to ask you, what is you wear multiple hats, and we've talked about 3 just on the podcast, so caterer, chef, and teacher. What is your personal intention in each one of those roles?
I can't separate them. It's to train up the next generation of chefs. Yeah, all in one. That's it. I've shifted from my private company because I've gotten older. And at 58, I'm not trying to get my hustle on anymore. I'm just not. But I am a wealth of knowledge and information, and I will be happy to share that with any individual that's in the industry, whether they're just getting started or they're midway, they're stuck, they're not sure which way to go. I consider myself a wealth of information, the do's and the don'ts of the industry. But my goal is to train up the next generation, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's out there in the industry. That's my goal, to make an impact and say, hey, if I could do it, you can do it. So, yeah, absolutely.
My final question for you, who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast, but you have to help get them on?
Absolutely. For me, literally the first person that comes to mind is my brother. He is a retired school teacher, and he has a nonprofit organization, a theatrical group, Jonathan Williams Center for Performing Arts, and he started in public school acting,
Okay.
and so because of his opportunity to be in a play in elementary school, he went on to get a degree from Howard University in Performing Arts. He's a vocalist, and he ended up getting his certification later on in his career, and has taught in BISD, but has also taught in Houston ISD. And he came back home and started a community theatrical group, musical theater. And so I would definitely love to see him share his love and his passion for the theater with your guest.
Thank you. Now, is this the brother that loves to cook with you in the kitchen?
I told you I had 6.
You have
Our parents, hey, they blessed us with some. They were blessed with some talented children.
Yes,
No,
they were.
this is another one. He's
Okay.
a retired school teacher as well, but no, this is another one.
Okay. Well, we shouldn't have any problems contacting him then. No problem. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for being on the podcast and being so open and honest and transparent
Right.
about your experience, your life experiences, Because one of the things, my intention for this podcast is to educate people,
Right.
Educate people in particular topics, and then my prayer is that they go and apply what they have learned
Right.
from the podcast. And I really feel like you have educated the masses, on owning a restaurant, what that looks like, but also catering and also
Right.
teaching. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate
And
it.
thank you for the cookies.
Absolutely. You can enjoy them, and there's plenty more. You can order them by the dozen.
Yes.
Yes, you can by the tray. However you like, but it was our pleasure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. You can get this podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry Console.